Hi there, my name's Adam Fielding, and welcome to another one of my music making sessions. So tonight I'm going to be doing something a little different to what I've been doing over the past couple of sessions. I've got a bit of an interesting story. So sometime last week there was a competition that was being run on Twitter by Plugin Boutique of all people, and it was a competition to win a copy of Stutter Edit 2. So all you had to do to enter the competition was name a musician you'd like to collaborate with. So I replied to the tweet and said Trent Reznor, because I'm a gigantic Nine Inch Nails fan, and that would be kind of awesome. And it turns out that tweet was the winning tweet. So I won a copy of Stutter Edit 2, which I received yesterday. So I've been messing around with that for the past day or so. And I thought it'd be really cool to bust it out during today's stream and just use it on everything, and that'd be awesome. So yeah, that was kind of weird. So they actually had another competition going as well, where you could remix a track created by BT, who was sort of the brains behind Stutter Edit in the first place. And I kind of chose the path of least resistance and least effort, and just entered the competition where I had to name someone I'd like to collaborate with, and won that. So winner. So yeah, I'm going to be using that today, and it's going to be excellent. Travis says, oh man, saw Nine Inch Nails a couple of times recently, like 2-3 years ago. Amazing live shows. I'm super jealous, because I've never, every time I've wanted to see Nine Inch Nails, something has always come up, and I've never ever seen them, despite the fact I've been a fan since like the late 90s. It's utterly absurd, and one of these days I will actually catch them live, and it will blow my mind. When Trent's like 75 or something. So yeah, so there we go. So I thought today I'd try doing something a bit more sort of up tempo and see where that goes. So I'm going to go with the magic 128 BPM, because why the hell not? And yeah, so let's just get into this. So I'm thinking I might use some Largo, which is a synth I picked up a couple of weeks ago, Waldorf Largo. I used that during last week's stream, but I feel like I only really touched the surface with that, or scratched the surface with that. So I'm going to be using a couple of patches that I've actually created. I've got like a little patch bank going already, and I thought it'd be nice to actually dip into that patch bank and use a couple for whatever I'm doing today. So I feel like, in terms of it being 128 BPM and using like, well, let's just fire up Largo, and I can sort of show some of the patches that I've been doing. So this is Largo. It's the most quintessentially late noughties synth interface, which I have a weird attraction to this kind of this sort of interface design. Maybe attraction isn't the right word. That does sound a bit weird. But there's something about it that really appeals to me. It's that kind of late noughties, ridiculous, shiny, skeuomorphic design. It's a very particular kind of ugly, which I just love it. So this is kind of the init patch, if no one's ever heard this. Lovely. So, oh yeah, I forgot the release is really long on this. So there we go. So I'm going to load my own patch bank. Actually, if I go to browse, I've got it here in user library. So it's not particularly extensive at the moment, but I've just got a few patches. So all of my patches are also incredibly quiet. So I'm just going to keep that window open and fire up the SSL mixer and turn this up a bit, because I can barely hear it. Put Valhalla on that and call it a day. Damn, I should have. Yeah, that's Largo's init patch. Yeah, it's really bizarre. Like, it's a technically interesting patch, but like, where would you use that in an actual piece of music? It's bizarre. So yeah, this is like a little. This was the first patch that I created with Largo, and it was just like a little ARP thing. So I've got like a few of these. This is kind of a nice. That's kind of a nice key patch. So there's a few sort of keys. But one patch I really want to use today is called Deep Sea. I might not start with that, but this really nice, I'd say it's the most wavetable-y pad that I created with Largo so far. So it's kind of a nice sort of glassy texture, which I think Largo really excels at, that sort of glossy kind of sound. So I'm probably going to dip into that later. I can't even remember what Shiner is. Oh yeah, that was a patch that I was going to put in the bin originally, then came back to it about half an hour later and thought, actually, that's not too bad. So I kept it. So cute ARP. Oops. I notice I have a patch called Qtart, but the actual arpeggiator is turned off. So there we go. So it's kind of a nice sort of plucky arp. So it's not particularly complex. It's just 3 oscillators, and I'm modulating the FM of oscillators 1 and 2 with envelope 4. So envelope 4 is a very, very, very short envelope. So if I increase the decay, you'll be able to hear it will sound ridiculous. So that's kind of what's giving it that sort of slightly mallety sound. So that's kind of a nice patch. So I've got oscillators 1 and 2 are going into filter 2. So that's a bandpass filter here. Or are they? No, they're not. I tell a lie. Oscillators 1 and 3 are going into filter 1, which is a low pass filter, and oscillator 2 is going into filter 2, which is a bandpass filter. So it's kind of a nice, so get this nice kind of balance. I've also set the mod wheel to affect the drive on one of the filters, so you kind of get that nice drive. I really like the sound of the drive on Largo's filters, and I just like the sound of the filters in general. Really, it's a really nice synth, and it's particularly interesting because it originally came out in 2009, I think. So by all accounts it's getting on a bit now, but I think it still sounds really good, and I really happen to like the sort of the feel of it in general. It's just I always enjoy messing around with it and creating patches with it. I am using the unison, so if I turn that up, you'll be able to hear that obvious detuning, but I might turn that right down again. Actually, I might set that to 1 because I think that's, so I get this kind of slight stereo sound to it, which is really useful. So I'm just going to leave that for now, and actually I'm going to disable the arpeggiator after actually turning it back on, and I'm going to use the dual arpeggio and reason, just because I feel like that gives me a bit more control over what I'm doing. So I'm going to drag that over to its own column, and let's just see what pops out. So actually let's create a sequence. So I've enabled steps and patterns, so I'm going to let's have 8 steps, and I'm just going to create a nice simple pattern. So if I say 1 2 4 3 2, and let's set the direction to up and down, so we get a bit of variety going on there. That's actually kind of neat. I kind of like that. I might increase the release on both of these and add a bit of reverb via the old DR1. Okay, cool. So, oops, I'm just knocking stuff over. Right, so I'm just going to start with that, and I'm just going to, what was I playing a second ago? So I was playing, pretty sure that's what I was playing, so yeah. Okay, cool. So that's actually, I might increase the octaves to 2 there, and I might actually include a second arp over that. So if we just have those there, enable steps and pattern. So, oops, I didn't mean to shift step. I'm constantly doing that for some reason. I see the word step, I'm like, oh yeah, that's how it works, even though this is much more intuitive, and that's how it works. I'm sure I can. Yeah, I'm not sold on that, so I might just. Yeah, I'm just going to turn off ARP 2 because it's not really adding anything to it. So, right, okay, so I think it's an interesting place to start. So I'm just going to copy that and just. Actually, let's have those both on B. Actually, let's set that back to octave 1. I'm under some. I feel like I'm thinking too much ahead at this point, so I might let's get 4 chords going. So so we got. Yeah, let's go back up to G sharp. I reckon that'll be nice. So. And then we can go back there. So that'll be a nice little journey, I reckon. Okay, so that's a starting point. So if I also forgot to mention Largo. Obviously, I've got delay coming from somewhere. That's from Largo. I'm just using delay. That's the only effect that's on there. So yeah, there's no. The reverb is being generated by the DR1 here. So. Actually, I feel like this would be a good point to add that pad I was messing around with, the deep C pad. So if I go to browse, go to user library and just open up the deep C pad, and all I'm going to do here is just copy and paste that. I might reduce the velocity just so it's a little less harsh when it comes in. So how's that sounding? I'm sort of thinking I might actually halve that tempo so everything has a bit more time to do its thing. So it's kind of an odd pattern at the moment. I feel like without any sort of rhythmic elements to anchor this down, we're getting into sort of some. It's hard to latch onto the rhythm of what's actually going on because there are no rhythmic elements besides the ARP, and that's got some weird stuff going on. So notice I haven't actually created any instance of Stutter Edit yet, but I think once I get some drums going, I'll start messing around with that. So I'm going to create an instance of redrum, and I'm going to use my, at this point, pretty standard redrum insert section. So it's Eve drums, no SC. No SC stands for no supercharger because I tend to use that on some stuff, and this uses a pulverizer instead of supercharger. So it's the drums are going through this Eve MP5 EQ, which is giving it a bit of a lift around 12k. It's cutting it around 20k, so it sort of just nudges it up a bit in around 12k, so the drums kind of poke out through the mix. But that 20k attenuation really helps to smooth things out in the highs, which is really interesting. Clovmutt said, I feel like your early noughties aesthetic in these streams has been particularly welcome at this time of chaos and uncertainty. Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if maybe that's like a subconscious thing on my part. Sort of delving more into sort of earlier aesthetics because it's just something that I find kind of comforting. It's very strange. Buskin Bills has said, can you drop that patch in your Dropbox? I can. I'll make a note of that. Drop the Eve, let's see, patch into dB, there we go. So I'll do that after the stream. So I'm going to increase the threshold on this limiter to -3 dB because originally it was -6. And for some reason I still haven't updated that, and that's just, I feel like that's way too heavy. So I'm going to go to the redrum here and just turn that down before I start adding drums. Right, I'm going to go to my Wave Alchemy Evolve Free folder and just start adding some drums. I'm probably going to be using Beatmap again this week just to kind of get some ideas going and maybe add some extra stuff over the top. So yeah, let's have some kicks. So I feel like I want something nice and beefy. So not that. That'll be good. So I'm just going to create a simple pattern there so I can get my kick level about right. So yeah, even with that kind of simple 4 on the floor kick, it kind of just helps to anchor everything, I think, which is incredibly useful. So, right, so we've got a kick, and I feel like to start with, maybe not have a snare. So I'm going to add like some sort of click or something. So I'm just looking in the layering tools to see what pops out. So to record some. I think that could work if I reduce the length of that and maybe turn it down a bit. And just add a hat, and then I'll start messing around with beat map patterns and see what pops out. So let's have a look here. I mean, I don't need to really think too much about the hat for now. The thing is, I can always change this stuff if I end up with a pattern that lends itself well to some different drum hits. So as always, these drum hits come from a free pack of drum sounds by Wave Alchemy called Evolve Free. So if you like these, then do check out Wave Alchemy's site. That free bank is incredibly useful, and the full version of Drumvolution is excellent. I use it all the time on my own stuff. So there we go. So I'm going to create an instance of beatmap, and let's just spawn XY and just see what pops out. So I'm just going to leave this playing and see where it goes. I might just drag around the beat map here and see where I go. So what I'm going to do now is, because at some point I feel like I am going to want to add a snare to this track, so I'm going to do that now, but I'm going to use a little trick that I've used before. I'm pretty sure I've used it before in one of these streams, so I'm just going to pick, I want something kind of short and snappy. Ooh, which one? I'm going to go with 23. Yeah, I'm going to go with snare 23 here, and just turn the length down on that. So it's this really snappy snare. I'm going to take the CV out, the gate out from channel 3 and put that into channel 4. So now, not channel 3, channel 2. So channel 2 was that kind of clappy sort of transient thing. So now if I press play, it will trigger both of those. And if I mute the snare, there we go. So So I'm going to add some extra percussion here as well, because I've got this percussive element here playing, but there's nothing actually in that channel. So I'm going to go to the percussion folder here, and I kind of feel like I want something poppy. Maybe, I'm tempted. I reckon if I just reduce the length of that and turn that down. I don't want it to be super in your face. So I've just reduced the length of that kick because I noticed that it's actually causing the compressor to really come in quite strongly at times. So I'm going to turn the squash down on that pulverizer a little bit as well. And just leave that playing, go to the redrum and adjust my levels. So again, I'm working on headphones, so I can't really do a massively amazing job with the mix here. So I'm kind of targeting around minus 10 dB for the sort of more prominent elements like kicks, and minus 20 dB for the sort of more background elements, as it were. So that can probably come up a bit, as can the pad. So something else I'd like to add is my secret sauce, which is the disperser. So I just want a touch of that, so I'm going to set that to about 4. So if I play it now, you might be able to hear the kick kind of has a bit more oomph to it. So if I turn this up, you're able to hear that much more, obviously, but that sounds a bit flabby. So if we just bring it in just a little bit, it really helps to round that out nicely. So now we've got kind of a do an A and B. Okay, let's do that. So this is before disperser, and I'll turn it on after a couple of bars and make a noise so you can tell. So that's no disperser, and this is with disperser. So it's not a super obvious difference, but it just kind of gives it a bit more of a knock, which is what I'm after really. So I think now that we've got like a little bit of actual rhythm going on here, I'm gonna add some stutter edits to, yes, bongos. So yeah, I'm gonna add some stutter edit to that art pattern. So this is stutter edit 2, which is what I got yesterday. And yeah, so I'm just going to leave it, oops, didn't mean to do that. I'm just going to leave it on the default patch and just play some notes on the keyboard. So what I need to do in order for it to work, because by default, damn, all the bongos. Because I've got, yeah, I'm just going to create an instance of Stutter Edit 2 in the sequencer here and just create a note lane for it. So as I play keys on my MIDI controller, it should trigger various effects and stuff. So that's just what I'm going to do. I'm just going to play around with it and see what pops out. So this is just the init patch. There is actually a way of, there's another play mode called auto where you can just set one particular preset to play, and I'm planning on using that to add some motion to some stuff later on, but for now I'm just going to see what happens. I wish it was a bit more consistent in terms of the levels, because some of those effects were incredibly loud. But I think I'm just going with the more kind of extreme stuff. So if I kind of find a nice area that's a bit more... I think what I might do is, instead of focusing too much on that, I might just draw in some stutter edits here. So at the end of a few sections, Clubmotor said it's a very 2010 looking interface. It's kind of interesting because the Stutter Edit 1 interface looks like that. So it's interesting to compare the two. So I do have them both installed because why not? I must admit, Stutter Edit 2, the interface is a lot more musically inviting, I think. Stutter Edit, you have to use a lot more foresight in terms of what you actually want it to do, I think. So I tended to rely on that more for sort of just flourishes and that kind of thing, whereas I'm seem to be using Stutter Edit 2 more for extra motion, if that makes any sense. So more of a kind of musical effect. So that's kind of interesting. It's interesting how that's worked out. So I'm just going to draw in some notes. So that's kind of nice. So if I stick with that kind of thing, so maybe let's have, I'm just going to bump that up a few notes. That's really loud, so I'm not going to be using that. So yeah, that's really loud. Let's try. I think I'm already overthinking this. So if I just set that to, let's go down. Let's go down. See what pops out. I'm going to stop messing around with this stuff in a second. So what I might do here is I might adjust the curve of this stutter. So this curve is kind of all over the place, so I'm just going to open up a typical curve. So this is controlling the speed of the stutter itself. So if I go with that, let's just listen to that. That's kind of interesting. I might turn the grid resolution down a bit so it actually lasts a bit longer. So there's some interesting flourishes. I think when there's more going on in the track, that'll be kind of a neat sound. So I am just going to try bumping that up a few semitones. I'll do the same over here as well. So just that'll do. Why do I keep going for that one patch that's incredibly loud? So what I might do is I might use that patch and just turn it down a bit because that's really loud. Yeah, that's right. So I just adjust that curve there. There we go. Label that pants tear. You need to fix the levels in the interface. Yeah, that was kind of my thinking. So I'm hoping that's done the job now. Yeah, that's much less painful on my ears. I can normally tell if something's gone wrong during these streams if I start to sort of flinch when things play in my headphones. So yeah, that explains why I'll be deaf by the age of 40. So right, I'm gonna add some extra percussion here. So I'm gonna dip into my samples library here. So this is all nicely arranged. So I'm just gonna dip into percussion. I've got a nice bank here called Organic Electronics, and I've got some nice tops in here. So around 120 BPM would be kind of nice. So I'm probably not going to be doing a huge amount. Tambourine. Shaker top. Oh, that's nice. I'm just going to drag that in, and I'm going to quantize that because I want it to be... Everything sounds quite tight at the moment. I'd quite like to keep that as it is. So I'm going to be using another plugin that I picked up quite recently called Beatformer. And I used this last week, and I'm just going to turn the squash down. It applies this interesting kind of expander and gate effect. Turn the air up just a bit, and hopefully we'll be able to hear what that sounds like in just a second. I'm just going to roll off the lows in the SSL mixer. So let's have a listen to that. So yeah, that's just a nice extra percussive elements there. I'm going to start labeling these properly because I'm already starting to forget what these elements are. So I'm going to call that percussion. That can be pad. Actually, I'm going to keep that as Q ARP. That's a nice little name. So yeah. So that's kind of a nice little start. So now I'm going to create, I feel like we need some bass, and I'm going to turn to old faithful VK2 here, but I'm going to be processing it with Stutter Edit, I think, after I do this, because so far I've used Stutter Edit to create, surprise, surprise, stutters, which makes sense because it's kind of what it's designed for. But I feel like it works really well for adding motion to instruments, and this will be a really interesting way to use it, because I do tend to focus in a lot of my streams. I've been using bass drones, which is I feel like it's a bit of a cop out. Like, there's nothing wrong with it, but I feel like I could be doing something a bit more interesting in terms of motion with the bass patch I've been creating. So I'm going to use oscillator 1 rectangular. That's kind of my go-to really, and root LFO1 sine to the shape. Turn that up and turn LFO1 down. Maybe turn the envelope down. So we've got this nice sort of big bass. So that's neat. So I'm just going to copy that over and just use the root notes as a start. So I'm basically doing everything I said that I wasn't going to do. I'm just using nice Nice simple drone there, so nothing too fancy, but does the job. Actually, I might bring that up an octave. Yeah, that cuts through a lot better. So I'm going to create an instance of Stutter Edit again, and hopefully get some interesting motion going on here. So last time I used Stutter Edit as a MIDI controlled effect, and this time I'm going to use it as an auto effect. So basically, whichever patch I pick, it's going to stick with that. So I'm going to stick with the default bank here, and I'm just going to have a look. That had a really funny title, and that actually worked quite interesting. It was called "Try This in Any Other Effect" or something. Although looking at it in that drop-down list, it does look like it says "Try This in Anal," which is also kind of funny. So, and I'm all about the comedy here. So we'll see how that goes. I'm just going to play it and see what it sounds like. I mean, that's already really, really cool. So I'm going to try and simplify that a bit. So I'm going to take the high pass filter off. Where am I? Actually, no, I'm going to keep that off. Ah, that's interesting. So it's actually the limiter that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting there. So I'm just going in the curve editor. So this curve is controlling the threshold on the limiter in Stutter Edit, which is really interesting. So if I just press, not reset. Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. So I'm just gonna load that patch again, and oh no, what have I done? So yeah, I'm just gonna open this up again. So that was best of. Yeah, let's just open that up again. And that was. Try another plugin. There we go. Try this in Anal. There we go. So right, back to square one. So I'm going to go to the limiter, and instead of pressing reset, I'm going to press reverse, which is what I meant to press in the first place. I might reverse it on the reverb as well. So let's... Actually, I preferred it the other way around. Ah yes, as Buskin Bills has just pointed out, there is actually an undo button right there, which I could have used instead of going through the patch again. Never mind. Yeah, so for some reason I'm just so used to pressing Control-Z in Reason to undo stuff that when it doesn't work, I instinctively don't look for an alternative. It's utterly ridiculous. So I'm just going to play that in situ, and let's hear how that sounds. Actually just mess around with the limiter and just I'm going to change this to a static threshold, I think. So if I'm actually going to reset that, and let's That's actually pretty much exactly what I wanted. There we go. So it's a simpler effect, but it's kind of this nice sort of breathing sound. So actually just thought of something that would be interesting to do. So by default, Stutter Edit 2 doesn't have a typical dry-wet control. You can control the level of, there's wet gain and dry gain. That's not really what I'm after. I'd quite like some sort of control so I can just flick between dry and wet with Stutter Edit. So handily, you can do that in Reason, and I've got a combinator that will do that nice and easily for me. So I'm going to take that out of the insert section there and just unhook it. So now this should just be, that's just the dry sound. So I'm going to open up my patch library and go to, I've got a tools section here, and I'm going to be using crossfade template. So this is just a nice little crossfade template here. Why, you might be thinking, why would you use two? Basically, I'm using two mixers here, and it's whatever's panned hard left is what actually plays. So the output left of each mixer is what's being routed to the actual output on this channel. So why would I do that and not use just one mixer and fade elements in and out? Because that would be much more straightforward. And it all comes down to just the way level like gain control actually works in Reason's mixers as opposed to the pan pots. So by using the pan pots, it's a more even crossfade between elements. You can try this out for yourself, but this is a really useful combinator that I turn to all the time, which is why it's in my effects section. So I'm just going to take that. So right now the actual dry signal is being routed to this Spider Audio merger and splitter. It's going into the left input on channel 1 on both of those mixers. And I'm going to take the split signal that can go into Stutter Edit 2, and that goes into channel 2 left input of this here thing. As Clover has pointed out, Morphin Crossfader rack extension is free. That does the exact same thing and is much simpler to use. I don't know why I don't use that. I'm just stuck in my ways, I think. So at the moment, this should just play the dry signal, and I can just fade that in using the dry wet control here. So that gives me a nice extra element of control there with the bass. So yes, very useful. So yeah, ignore this setup here. Use Morphin XF Crossfader. XF Crossfader. It's much simpler, and it's free in the rack extension shop. Does the exact same thing, and you don't have to mess around with crazy routings. You can just use two signal sources, and it's much easier. So. So now I can control the dry-wet amount of the Stutter Edit, which I think will be useful when I'm actually working on the track. I'm going to create an instance of Spider Audio merger and splitter there, and I'm going to take the drum output and include that in the merger section there. I'm going to split the kick into the same section there, and I'm also going to send that to the dynamics input on the VK2, so I can use that as a sidechain source for the bass. So I don't want it to be super pumpy, but it should work nicely with the kick. So I say I don't want it to be super pumpy, but then it is. So there we go. So I think I still need to create a couple of extra elements before I can start messing around with this as a track. So I'd really like to create something I did a few weeks ago that didn't really pan out, was a sort of automatic breakbeat mangler kind of thing. So I'm going to dip into the factory sound bank and pull out an old drum and bass loop. I do actually have one in mind, I just can't remember what it's called. So Crispy, that's the one. So just going to drag that in. Excellent. I think that was perfectly timed. The lovely factory sound bank bird sound to coincide with me dipping into the factory sound bank. So I'm going to quantize that, and I'm not going to be using that entire loop because I feel like some of it's kind of redundant. So I'm just going to... Whoa, that's loud. Excellent. So I'm just going to... Oh, excellent. Yes, I need to save. So that was my save siren. Whoa, I'm getting all of the sounds. So I'm just going to save that. Just had a message from Mitch Root saying, stream okay. I was watching on my mobile, which was choppy as hell, back on my PC, and it's still dropping. It looks like it's fine here. My little green light is showing everything's okay, but let me know in the chat if it's okay there. So I'm going to split this into 4 chunks. You might be thinking, why am I not just using Dr. Octorex? There is a good reason for why I'm doing what I'm doing, and all will become apparent very shortly. So I'm going to bounce that to 4 discrete samples and get rid of that channel, basically, because I'm done with it. And I'm going to create a NNXT, which is always fun to say, NNXT. So now I'm going to open that up, go to song samples, unassigned samples, and just drop those in. So I've got 4 individual parts, and I'm going to set the auto map zones chromatically. So it starts there. Excellent, there we go. Now I only want 1 key playing at a time. So just to get things going, I'm going to create a matrix pattern sequencer and just trigger those notes in sequence, so it should play them as you'd expect it to play them. So if I now solo that channel, we hear nothing. Excellent. Damn it. What have I done wrong here? So it's receiving notes. I have soloed the right one. So, interesting. Oh, it's because it's the wrong octave. Right, there we go. Let's try this again. So great, I've created something that just triggers the samples in order. Big whoop, that's the most boring thing imaginable. So I'm going to combine that with the evolution sequencer. Now the interesting thing is, when you use the matrix, any CV inputs override the player inputs, which I was unaware of until relatively recently. So we've got that semblance of rhythm. It will play everything in order. And on top of that, I want the evolution player to basically trigger a bunch of extra notes, so we get some really interesting movement inside the fill itself. So we'll have the same basic rhythm, but with lots of extra embellishments over the top. So hopefully this will work. So I want that to repeat once, because I want it to change on every loop. So we've got the basic kind of structure of the kick snare thing going on, but also those extra embellishments provided by the evolution player, which I think is really, really neat. The only downside to doing this is that I'm now locked at 128 BPM because of the way those loops work, and because I bounce them at 128 BPM. If I wanted to change the tempo now, I'd have to start messing around with the actual samples or repitch them in the NNXT, which you could definitely do. So it's a really, really cool thing to try out if you want some extra movement in your drums. And like I said, that's just a factory sound bank patch. So I'm going to call that breakbeat madness, because it's fun. And I'm going to create an instance of the beat former, and I'm going to do the same thing. So squash comes down, air goes up, and how's that sounding? It's a bit much. So yeah, I'll stick with that. Let's listen to that in context of the track. So I suspect that's going to be too loud now, so I'm just going to bring that down. Ty Blue has said, I feel like that would take me about 6 months to work out what you just did. It's actually something that I've wanted to mess around with for quite a while, but every time I did it, I just ended up with this kind of random mess of a loop. And it only kind of dawned on me recently that I could just trigger each individual slice in time using a matrix device separately alongside a player. So the player is kind of creating those extra embellishments, and the matrix is kind of keeping everything steady, which is super useful. So it's great. So yeah, Forsaken Cowboy says, I have no clue what you're doing, but I like it. Excellent. I aim to confuse. Just a reminder to everyone, when I'm done with this stream, all of my stream project files, including this one, are available in Dropbox. There is a command in the chat which will display the link. So in fact, I might just do that now before someone beats me to it. The race is on. Yes. So the link should have just popped up in the chat, so feel free to follow that link and it will take you to all the tunes and the project files. And yeah, if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll have a link in the description below. So there we go. Either way, the stuff is available. So let's have I might actually roll off the highs a bit there, because it just sounds a little brittle, so I might just roll that off around 12k. Maybe a little lower. Yeah. So that's kind of neat. Right, so we got that extra breakbeat. The cool thing about that breakbeat is, as well, I've used evolution here, but there's nothing stopping you from using something like quad note player or something else to trigger it. Basically, you could just use a matrix if you wanted to and just semi-randomize it. Just so long as you have the main notes kind of triggering in the correct place, so you have the kick and the snare. I think those are the important things, really. So my problem before was I was just having just a random mess playing in the background. It didn't really work. So yes, so I feel like we're getting there. I still feel like I just want let's have some extra hats. I feel like I need like some open hats. I might just stick those in the re-drum. So if I go to Wave Alchemy and Evolve Free, let's have some open hats. So I'll do. Nice classic kind of sound. So I'm just gonna have those trigger off beats. So let's play that. Cool, we're getting somewhere. I noticed someone mentioned, I think it might have been Buskin Bills mentioned pump, so I might try adding pump to this Largo pad here. Maybe not quite so extreme, maybe a little slower. So that's kind of nice. And I think I'm going to add one extra element and then start arranging this into something. So I've been messing around with this for quite a while, and this percussion section is getting quite out of hand. So I'm just going to fold that up, pretend it's simpler than it is, and I'm going to create an instance. I feel like this week I'm all in on stuff that just toys. So I'm going to go into my patches folder, go into devices, and throw in an instance of Roidos, which is a reactor ensemble for creating glitchy drums. I haven't used this for a while, actually, so it'll be nice to bust this out again. So Tyblue has asked, is pump any different to Reasonista's sidechain reaction enveloper? No, they're very similar. Well, they both do similar things, they just work in different ways. I seem to have gravitated towards pump recently. I think it's just because it's more immediate, but I think Scree, the sidechain reaction enveloper, has more control. So it's personal preference. I just seem to have leaned more towards pump. I'll probably lean towards Scree again in the future. It's also fun to say, Scree. So there we go. Clovermut has said, for a free alternative stutter edit, try Glitch VST. Version 1 is still a freebie. Man, that takes me back. I remember really, really wishing I could use Glitch in Reason back in the day, and now you can. So yeah, do check out that VST. It's a bit of a classic, really. Go for it. So so what was I doing? I'm creating glitchy percussion. Here we go. Right. So this is the reactor ensemble that I'm using. I'm just going to adjust this sequence. So I'm going to increase the number of steps that are playing to 16 and just have that play something simple there, and that should do nicely. Increase the range of random samples and change the bass. So nice, easy, glitchy drums. If this was something I was working on, I had a bit more time, I'd probably mess around with that considerably more. One of these days I do plan to throw my own samples in there, because that's something I did with an earlier version of Roydars, and it was great. So I'm just going to call that Glitchy perk. In fact, as I'm on a bit of a beatformer bender as well, I might just stick this through beatformer and see what happens. Poppy. Cool. Actually, I'm gonna cut that, and I'm gonna bounce that all to audio. And once that's bounced, I'm gonna quantize it and then put beatformer on that, and that'll be just a nice audio chunk there. So I don't have to worry about Reactor triggering on its own and all that kind of thing. So I just delete that and call that Glitchy perk. And now I'm just gonna paste in that instance of beatformer that I just removed. I'm going to normalize that so I can bring it down in the mixer. It's just good practice on my part, I think. Sounds quite poppy. So I'm just going to quantize that so everything is nice and hard on the note. So that's kind of neat. So we've got a nice section going there. Thinking I might actually add an extra note there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take what I've got so far and pop that in a block and start messing around with it in another block. So I'd like, actually that could be block 2. I think block 1 is just going to be a static, what have I done here? I'm just going to keep that on a static note, and that can kind of be more of my sort of build block, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to go to block 1 and just have that play one continuous chord and one continuous note. That'll be kind of a nice place to start, I think. So let's do that. Just the same bass note playing throughout. Excellent. I feel like it's been a while since I've heard the vocoder phrase. Some nice factory soundband classics going on here. So I'm going to copy that block into block 3 because that was something I wanted to try with the last chord. I'm just wondering, it'd be nice to throw something in there that's a little more unexpected. So I'm thinking, so far it's... Actually, I might bring that up because I feel like that just kind of disappears. So if I just bring that up there, yeah. Yeah, I think that could work if I just put a D on that part there. I think this will sound odd, but I kind of feel like as a bit of a change that could work. So that's not going to work. Let's try that. So I'm just going to pop that in the pad here as well. Okay, I feel like that sounds more sinister than I was actually expecting, which I'm kind of all for, to be honest. So I'm gonna stick with that. Yeah, I'm gonna leave that block as it is. So I've got 3 blocks to play around with, all kind of variations on the same theme. I might add to that when I'm actually working on the track. So if I just remove that and create block 1, and I reckon I want the track to start with the sort of cue arp. What I also want is for all of the drums to be muted at the start. So I'm just going to mute, 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 and just do it that way. I feel like that's the safest, easiest way of doing things when you're actually working with players and stuff like that. So I find it helps if you actually draw the mute in the correct place. So it is muting. That's not what I was intending to do, but I kind of like that. So, but I'm not going to have it start. So I'm going to have the pattern disable at the start and do the same thing with the evolution player. I might have that stutter edit come in at the start. Maybe not that one in particular. Okay, I feel like I need some sort of rhythmic element at the start. Otherwise it's just a bit odd. It still sounds a bit odd. What I might do actually is have that re-trigger after half the time has passed. So it's kind of locked to the bar. So let's see if that works. Let's just have that whole bar play so we get the different stutter edits playing as well. So I'm going to have that cue arp filter in as well, and I'm going to use Inphonics RX950 because I really like the sound of that. I'm going to turn the audio bandwidth up, so it's just a one control filter, so I can just filter stuff in really nice and easily. So. Okay, this is working nicely so far, I think. I might actually increase the time on the reverb at the start so it's more of a wash over everything. Okie dokie, there we go. So, right. So I think after that point I'll start bringing in more drums, and I might also have that percussion filter in a bit as well. So I'm going to use just the regular SSL filter here because why not? So I might also have that pad come in there as well. So if I go to Deep C here, double that, paste that twice. So I just want the second part of that start playing, and I'll have that filter in as well. So we end up with some interesting stuff fading in there. So let's go to the pad and have that filter in over that section there. In fact, I might just have it slowly fade in like that. There we go. Just realised I could be using the mod wheel on this pluck. Oh yeah, I've muted the pad again. Right, so let's try this. Right, so I'm going to start chopping some of these up so I can bring in the snare without bringing everything else in. I have the snare and the hat come in and leave that open hat out. Tree Zero says, I'd remove that first stutter. Right, let's give that a go. I am using the stutters quite a lot at the moment. That was a good call. Excellent call, Tree Zero. I approve. I might also have the hats come in a little later as well, because I feel like at the moment they just sort of pop in. But one thing I do want to try, I'm going to turn that snare up because it just seems like it's getting drowned out a bit. All right. Nasal riser. See, I was actually tempted to add a nasal riser element just there, but I am going to try something different. I feel like this week is the week of me abusing Stutter Edit, so I'm going to stick Stutter Edit on the master bus because there is a whole chunk of transitional stuff I could use in there, and if it doesn't work, I'll use a nasal riser. So that's it. So yeah, so let's see how that works. So I'm just going to open up the bank called master bus, and there is transitions and textures. So let's give that a go. So there's a whole load of transitional stuff here. So let's just try it. So if I just have it come in there, I'm going to need to create a track for that. Let's have a new note lane, and let's just draw in a note and see what pops out. Nothing, because I think I've just triggered something that doesn't actually, yeah, that's... Oh, it's a subtle chop. I don't want subtle chops. I need crazy chops. Let's have get to the chopper. That's got to happen. Nice. I am going to turn that down a bit though, because it is quite loud compared to everything else. So if I just lock the wet level there and just turn that down. So I'm actually liking Drabbit's idea here, which is stutter with your nose. So who's to say I can't use Stutter Edit with the nasal riser? So let's do this. All right, I'm going to create an audio track, and I'm just going to record the very, very technical. If you've never seen this before, I know lots of people in the chat have seen me do this already, but if you've not seen me do this before, this is an incredibly technical technique I'm about to do. So here we go. I'm just going to hit record, and you just watch the magic. There we go. Right, that'll do nicely. So I'll just take that snort there, stretch it out, stretch and sniff, and just have that fade in. And yeah, where have I put it? Oh no, right there it is. That can have its own row in the rack. So I'm just going to drench that in reverb, lots and lots of reverb, and normalize that. Save alert. Yes, there we go. So thank you, Mark David Avocado, much obliged. So right, I'm going to turn that channel down and stick it through a massive high pass filter, and we'll see how it goes. Let's nasal riser. Oh, that doesn't have a name either. Bass. Right, there we go. So and let's transpose that. Yeah. Nice. There we go. I might actually adjust this a little bit as well. Oops, not that one. I might mute that little stutter edit there on the ARP as well, because that's a bit much. And I'm also going to have the glitchy percussion filter in as well. So let's do that. I might adjust this beat map just a bit. I'm going to copy the patch just so I don't mess it up. I feel like that snare's not quite where I want it to be, so if I just play that. I think that works better. Dravis just asked, does anyone else obsessively make screenshots of their VSTs for the Reason browsers, or is that just me? It's not just you. I can assure you it's not just you. You may have noticed when I create an instance of VST in the rack, there is always a screenshot. And if you look in the instrument browser over here, I never use, I always use right click, but yeah, everything has a screenshot. Everything has a screenshot. It's great. I love it. Oh no, oh, that's upset me. But yeah, everything has a screenshot, as everything, all is as it should be. So yes, everything has to have a picture. That master stutter is still a bit loud in the mix. I think you're right. I think you're right, Buskin Bill. So let's turn that down to, set that to -6. I think it's just when that stutter actually kicks in, it's just a bit... Yeah, that initial kick is just really loud. I think I might just disable dry gain because that's... Yeah, there we go. Oh no. There we go, right. Yeah, that snare's still not quite where I want it to be, so... I'm not gonna get sucked into that, right? I'm just gonna leave that. I might bring in the extra breakbeat as well now. But not that extra hat. So I think after this part I'm going to bring in the bass because it's about time that came in. So, yeah. Do you get much use out of the complex rack extension? To be honest, when I'm actually working on tracks like this, I don't tend to use it a huge amount. It's more of a... It's one of those things where I feel like it demands my attention. If I start messing around with complex, I mess around with nothing but complex for hours at a time. But when I'm actually working on a track, I don't really tend to use it a whole lot when I'm actually just getting ideas down. It's either more of a sound design thing where I'll bounce stuff and use it later, or something I just completely get into. So yeah, it's great. But yeah, it's good. Maybe one of these days I'll do a stream where I just start with a complex patch that, you know, just create something and go from there. But I'll probably just get sucked into 2 hours of making a complex patch if I do that. Yeah, so I feel like next section will be a good place to bring in that extra breakbeat and some hats and let that whole block play out. Because I just realised I haven't actually let that entire block play out yet, so that'll be good. I love that. Drabbit says, complex is like Thor, but everything's pulled out of the programmer and just chilling on the UI. It is. I think that's actually a really apt way of describing it. I think that's kind of why I like messing around with it. Everything's kind of laid out in front of you, but yeah, it is its own unique beastie. So I'm just going to bring out these stutter edits so I might just transpose them up a semitone and see what pops out really. Yeah, less of that. I think I might just not have a stutter there. And I'm just going to turn off the beat map there, I think, just because I don't really need that. I just want to have a little break there. And then I'll bring the bass in. Yeah, sorry about that incredibly loud noise, folks. That was That was a bit much. So just mute the glitchy percussion, and let's turn off the evolution player and the matrix there. Let's turn off the matrix. I might actually... No, I'm going to leave that. Buskin Bills. Looks like Adam's going to be spending the next week setting all the levels of Stutter rate to -6 dB. One of the first things I want to do with it, if I'm going to be using it more regularly, is I want to create my own bank of sounds and just, you know, just mess around with that, because I like what's there, but I feel like I need to curate something that's more appropriate to what I'm using. So I love a lot of the patches that are there already, like some of them are super creative and super fun. But yeah, I think a uniform -6 dB is not a terrible approach. But we'll see, we'll see. So I'm going to have another transition kind of part there. Maybe just bring that up. Let's have not chop texture. Let's have transitional effects. So that's around E3. So if I bump that up to E3. Did I say it was 2 bars or 1 bar? Or did it say nothing at all? Didn't say how many bars it was. Excellent, right. Whoa! I'm going to stick with the original. There we go. And I'm also going to bring in the old nasal riser here. Let's not transpose that, and let's turn it down a little bit. So I'm going to continue to mute those hats, and I'm going to have the bass come in there. In fact, I might just have that ARP ring out for a bit, so I'm going to increase the reverb time on that and just mute it. Buskin Bills asked, does setting a lower velocity on the MIDI work? You know, I actually haven't tried that. That would be a really sensible thing to try. So, I'm not sure. Yeah, let's try it around here. So, I don't think that's made any difference, but that was actually a really good idea. And if, yeah. It sounded the same to me both times, but that, yeah, it's a shame, because that's actually a really, really, really good idea from a usability perspective. I would absolutely bring that on board. In fact, I might mention that because that's a super, super good idea. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. That's a really cool idea. So I might not have the stutter there on the ARP, because I just really want that to wash out. Maybe not that much. Yeah, I'm actually just going to leave that pad playing. In fact, I might go back to the static block. Let's have a pitch bend on that bass, I think. So if I automate the dry wet on that bass, and I'm just curious as to what that sounds like. Let's have another little transition there. Again, that's quite loud. So I might bring that into block 3 where I've got that extra goodness on the end. I feel like I should have that continue there. Let's stick with block 2 there, I think. Yeah, and let's have the ARP fade in over there as well. So. That's what I'm missing. I'm missing some bongos here. Actually, I don't really want that mod wheel to go up just yet. I keep forgetting about that. Damn. Right. Again, way too loud. Ty Blue has asked, said, I'm liking the overall sound of this. What genre would you say it is? I'd say I don't know really. I'd say it's kind of new school breaksy, which as a genre identifier is kind of hilarious to think about now because new school breaks hasn't really been new since like 2003. So yeah, breaks, absolutely breaks. It's definitely got a breakbeaty touch. Whoa, that was way too loud. What is the deal with this? Okay, right, yeah, I definitely need to create my own gesture bank at some point because some of these are just woo. Right. Thai blue, I'm happy with that, but now I'm deaf. Yeah, I apologise for that. Old school, new school breaks. So I'm thinking it might be cool to introduce some kind of extra element after this. In fact, I might leave the... Yeah, I might take the kind of glitchiness, the sort of modulation off the bass, and just open it up a bit. Just automate the filter frequency, just open that so it's nice and... just play that section twice. Let's have some different stutters in here as well. Actually, I might have some fun with blocks here. So I'm going to extend that block there so we get the start of that section and the end as well. Oh, which makes no difference because it just plays the same chord. Ah, that was a nice idea when I had it. Actually, I might... Yeah, I don't think fading between effects is really working for me there. Clover said Wipeout vibes again. Excellent. I'm a fan of writing Wipeouty breaks. One of these days I need to get back into Wipeout so I could just be really self-indulgent and listen to my own breaksy tunes while I do it. What I might do on the bass actually is stick a filter after that stutter edit, and let's use the Inphonic RN950 again, and just have that fade, or have that filter in for a bit. I just realised I've dragged that over to the wrong place. There we go. You've hit the 2 minutes 59 mark. That's the golden 3 minutes in anyone's book. I'm close. I feel like I do kind of want to wrap it up, but I am going to add some stuff to it. So let's get a rough arrangement. That'll be good, I think. So a nice little nasal riser there because it's been a while. Also, I feel like I want to extend the wash on that riser. Oh, it has its own column. Of course I gave it its own column. It's 30 seconds. In fact, I don't know why I didn't turn that up in the first place. So what I wanted to do here with the pad was just let that wash out. I'm actually going to start automating the floor on the pad so we don't have the pumping sound all the time. So just a extra... Nice. Just have a bit of variation there. Thanks Drabbit, for that. Lovely vocodery goodness. So I'm going to set that value to 0 and that to wherever it is. Minus 69. Nice. So I did want to have some extra reverb on this pad, so I can just bring that in when I want it, and just have that kind of wash over everything. So let's have that turn up as we go. This is just kind of reminding me, I keep using the word wash when I'm referring to sounds. I thought it was quite interesting during the Reason Studio stream which I was on a few weeks ago with Ryan, and he thought it was interesting that I referred to my sort of vocal washes as vocal washes, and it's not really something I'd ever really put a lot of thought into. It's a wash of sound. It just naturally came to me. It never really occurred to me that it was kind of an unusual term. So yeah, I like using the word wash a lot when it comes to audio. So I might just bring that pad back there. In fact, I might have that filtering cloth. You need a dictionary of fieldingisms. Nasal riser, vocal wash. Yeah, just basically nonsense words thrown together. That's essentially how I roll. Wonderful. So I'm going to turn the insert pre on the pad so I can use the high pass filter to just kind of mess around with that a bit. Yeah. Just realized I'm using beatmap and I'm not actually automating any of these parameters whatsoever, so I'm going to put the snare back to the center and automate the hat density, because that's kind of one of the benefits of using beatmap, is that you can just make adjustments on the fly. So oops. So one thing I really wanted to add there, because I do feel like it needs a bit of variation, is I would really like to add some vocal washes, which is kind of why I went off on that tangent in the first place. So I am going to create a new audio track, and I really want to add some kind of like breathy sort of vocals instead of kind of the typical sort of thing that I've done before. I'd like to try something a bit different but similar, because I fear change. So I'm just going to disable my monitor. And now I'm in Reason, yay. So let's just stick a bunch of reverb on there. Hello. And roll off the lows. That was fun. something I quite like doing with these kind of like vocal sort of effects is I'm not going to be singing like actual lyrics because I don't have time to sit down and write lyrics, and it's not really that kind of track anyway. So something I sometimes like to do is to just kind of sing basically like gibberish lyrics over the top of what I'm doing, so it kind of has the feeling of saying something's being said but not. So that's kind of what I'm going to try here. So I'm just going to try singing like something that sounds a bit like a word but isn't actually a word but sort of is. We'll see. And I'm back. I also feel like I want to add like a more kind of stringy pad at that point as well. So I'm going to do my usual thing here of just pitch correcting the crap out of this vocal part. So Tyvalo said, that sounds like silence. Yeah, so I did really badly at the whole singing gibberish thing and just sang the word silence apparently. So yeah, never mind. But yeah, like that kind of works. It's time to pitch track titles. Excellent. I was thinking slight lag. I like that, except that my brain being what it is, I've kind of truncated the two words and now I can't think of it. I just read that and I think slag. You slag. So I'm sorry, Buskin Bills. I've already ruined your track title. Within 2 seconds of reading it, I'd ruined it. Story of my life. I think that needs some delay on top of it. So in fact, I haven't really used a lot of delay in this track. Yeah, how strange. How strange. Just realised I've added... Oh, I have put that on the correct channel, so I just can't really hear a whole lot of delay there. It's definitely, yeah. Right, let's try that again. All I can hear is slag now in the recording. Damn it. I think what I need is to just normalize. Actually, not normalize it. It's just bring them up by like 12 dB or something daft, just so I can actually hear what I'm doing. Would that make Lady of the Night as a bad track title? Yeah, I'm not calling it Lady of the Night either. It's what's funny is I'm pretty sure I've unintentionally come up with some really bad track titles and some really bad patch titles in the past. I've gone through some old projects and seen some patch titles which are inadvertently really innuendo laden, and just been like, whoops. Night Walker. Again, maybe not. Maybe not. Keep the ideas coming. Cyber Night. Again, I've just ruined every title I'm reading. Cyber Night just makes me think of a guy sat at a computer just cybering strangers, which not really the feel I'm going for. What, you don't like my latest track, Dong Smasher? I really want to write an EP now called Dong Smasher. Oh, this is amazing. I think what I might do is have that part played twice and... or not. I don't know. I'm going to listen to this from the start because it's been a while. Yeah, so I'm thinking... Sorry, I am reading everyone's comments in the chat, and I'm going to respond to that in a second. But yeah, I feel like I need to have like a really nice pad come in there, like a nice stringy kind of pad thing. And then bring in the kind of vocal elements after that, or have them fade in or something. So, whoops, I'm trying to punch my microphone too much. So, Wayfarer, I really like that as a track title. Yeah, unfortunately, there's a pub I go to called Wayfarer, so I can't really dissociate the two. But although it seems kind of appropriate given that everyone rushed to the pub this past weekend, so it kind of works. Wayfarer is kind of a nice title. I like that. Wet Night. And there's a lot of talk of prostitution in my chat. There's more than I would have expected. I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, screw the pub. So yeah, I'm going to go with Wayfarer. It's like a tentative kind of title for now. So I'm going to call that Wayfarer. but I'm not 100% concrete one. This isn't like last week where someone said Cruise Control and I was like, oh my god, that is a perfect title. But Wayfarer, I like that, and also it does tie in quite nicely thematically in terms of kind of what's going on, even if it is just a weird personal association. I'm a fan of those personal associations, so I'm going to stick with that. So what I might do with this section is just have those vocals kind of come in more gently, just have those filter in on the high pass filter. So yeah, I might, I'd quite like a nice stringy kind of pad. So let's dip into the old patch archive here. So patch library. Let's just see what pops out, and away we go. Once it finishes loading, there's a lot of patches in here. So these are all patches I created, by the way, over the years. It's just my personal little patch library. So there's a lot of. It's a mixture of rack extensions and VSTs. So, Deep Classic, that sounds fun. I always love it when patches have really misleading titles as well. So I'll have something that's like Fat Pad, and I'll play it, and it will be like the weediest, weakest thing I've ever heard. So I'm just going to copy the chords from that block and just pop them here at the bottom. So hopefully this won't be an incredibly weak pad. Oh, it's my favorite. It's a ghost pad. Not really what I'm going for. Do I have anything with string in the title? That would be good. Let's search this folder for string. Wow, that's deeply disappointing. Oh man. So let's try that again. Right, still life. Let's just go for it. I'm just throwing things in. Oh, it's another antidote patch. Outstanding. Tidal. That could. So there's a lot of antidote patches here. Some of these aren't super amazing. I think some of these are quite old. Foxy pad. Ah, yes, that uses a wavetable. So let's go here and grab that. I think this might be a factory sound bank patch. Oh, you're kidding me. Right, here we go. Excellent. A Clover has said I have 11,020 channel points and no idea what to do with them. You need some custom emotes. Yeah, I should probably work on that, really. Yeah, give you something to spend your channel points on. Oh man, to be honest, I'm not super au fait with Twitch in general. You may have got this impression over the weeks where I've pretended to know what I'm doing. So yeah, I really should look into that. It's just, yeah, I just haven't yet. So I'll look into that. I'll make a note. There we go. I'm pretty sure that vocal sound as well, that's like a wavetable that's based on my voice as well. So that seems kind of appropriate to use here. I still think something more stringy would work. You're not a true Twitch streamer until you've become the center of some kind of deeply unsettling controversy. Yeah, well, once my personal life goes public, you know, that's when the controversy will start. No, I feel like that's a really stupid thing to say because, you know, I have nothing to hide. Oh God, when is Adam's birthday? Let's spoil him with our points. Sweet birthday points. What can I use? Rap. That sounds like a nice patch. Again, I kind of feel like this is like every week there's a new streamer in the news I've never heard of with a name like Bombkey or something, and it's always like Bombkey indicted by FBI for people trafficking or something. Thankfully, I've never done anything quite that serious. So, well, hey, maybe I'll avoid the news. Fantastic. I'm gonna add another VST kind of phaser effect. I'm a fan of phaser. It's supposed to replicate the sound of the phaser on the Virus synth, which also seems appropriate given the current context. So, and I really like it as a Virus owner myself. I think it sounds pretty damn good. So it's nice to have that as a breakout VST. In fact, I might put all those chords back and, oops, didn't mean to do that. And maybe just modulate the filter, automate the filter frequency and see how that works. So let's do that. Let's do that. Yes, Virus appropriate in the current context. Dark humor in this bleak weather. Yes, it's how I get through it. dark humor. Let's have this. Let's call this pad wash. I like that. Let's stick with wash. Box wash. Everything is washed. So let's just have that filter out as it goes, I think. Actually, I might just have that play again there and then just use block 3 for this next chunk here. And I think that'll be a nice place to start finishing things off. So I'm also going to bring that nice modulated bass part back. And let's just see how it goes. Track title, washing it off. Sounds filthy. I think it's time for another classic snort. And a nice sort of transitional element which will probably deafen everyone as soon as it plays. So I apologize in advance. That was alright. And I think I might just finish with block 1 at the end. What happened there? Right. I think that's actually supposed to be 2 bars. Oh, I just realised I haven't actually been modulating the ARP a whole lot, and also it just kind of drops off suddenly there. So let's have some slight variations. So I'm just going to have the bass fade out there as well. I feel like I haven't used a whole lot of delay, and I feel like this track is kind of crying out for some nice delay washes here and there as well. So Bosconville says, I love the no-nonsense approach to automation you have. Yeah, just bosh it. Just whack it in. That's kind of my approach. Yeah, I'm glad you appreciate it. Yeah, I like to think it's honed from years of not caring about automation. But yeah, I feel like it's good to kind of get this stuff down quickly, like especially automation. I feel like I used to have a real tendency to obsess over individual automation lanes, and as soon as you start doing that, or as soon as I started doing that, I just obsess over the wrong things. It's kind of a continuing theme with a lot of my music making, I feel. So yeah. What was I doing? I was going to have the bass fade out. I was going to automate the bass, and I got distracted talking about automation, which the irony is not lost on me. So that's funny. I think having the ARP kind of become more of a reverby mess there would be quite nice. I might just have the finish on a single kick. I think that'd be kind of neat. So if I just turn the beat map off at the end there. It's a cheeky hat just playing away in the background. Let's mute everything else, I think, just to be safe. That breakbeat still playing in the background, brilliant. Oh yeah, I've muted the kick, that's not going to work. Kick with massive reverb, I like that, let's do that. Thank you, Buskin' Bills. I feel like a kick with a nice long reverb tail, but not super overwhelming, if that makes any sense. So I'm gonna turn up the tail there, and that's attached to FX End 1. I'm just gonna have that come in on that very last part there. So I'm gonna adjust the amount of that aux end. In fact, minus 12 dB could work. Let's just try that. Don't need so much low there. In fact, I think that still might be a bit much. That's nice, I can just fade out that kick at the end. Nice. So something else that's still creating quite a bit of noise. Nice. Something else that's still... I'm not going to obsess over stuff at the end, but I would like it to fade out properly. It's probably that deep C pad. Nice. Nice. Oh man, let's start playing again. I'm gonna have the just some crazy drummer going crazy in the background. I love it. Oh, so it's the cute art that's creating a lot of noise for some reason. Right, well, I'll fix that. Right. Create and click on the evolution player and get the note lane for it. Yeah, I'll yeah, it's the NNXT. It's because I started automating the on-off function of the actual evolution player. So now it just kicks in when I'm stopped. So let's. There is already a track for it. Oh, it needs a note lane. Can't create. You can't create note lanes for players, so that's a no-go. Anyway, it doesn't really affect the actual song when it's playing back, so I'll live. Right, so let's try this. Oops. Yeah, there we go. That's good. So it should fade out elements at the end. Excellent. Except that's... Yeah, good stuff. Right, I'm just going to play that from the beginning and make some tweaks, maybe add a couple of delay washes, but I think we're getting there. Clodmat said, thinking about what you were saying about automation, I wonder if part of it is from starting with older Reason, which didn't have proper automation. I remember trying to draw a neat curve, felt like an achievement. It was. So yeah, interestingly, I'm going to go off on a very slight sort of tangent here. In the older versions of Reason, you couldn't draw automation curves, and there wasn't kind of point-to-point based automation. It was all step-based automation. So if you were quantized, like if you were quantized to the sequencer lane, then everything you drew in the automation lane would kind of draw in, say, like 16th steps. So you could turn off quantization and or snap, and you could draw stuff in more smoothly, but you had to freehand everything, and it was a bit of a pain to work with. You could still draw straight lines, but even then that was all step based. So it was an interesting way of working. It's quite neat when you open up old projects in Reason now. You can kind of see the sort of step-based stuff represented using vector point-to-point automation. It's kind of neat, but yeah, I guess the closest approximation now would be the matrix device. So if you have a curve in the matrix, that's essentially how automation used to work in the old version of Reason. It was like a sort of step-by-step curve. So yeah, it was neat. So I'm going to play this from the beginning, and here we go. See, I was actually like, I was listening back to that. I've seen a few comments pop up in the chat. And I'll get to that in a second. But I was listening back to that and kind of with full of intention of thinking of things to add to it and swap in and out. But I'm actually kind of happy with that just as it is, really. I feel like adding at this point, I don't really want to just add more stuff to it for the sake of it. And I kind of like that in terms of the actual melody, it's quite stripped back. You've just kind of got the ARP and some pads, and they just kind of sweep in and out of each other. And it was nice to see in the chat, Clovmo has said, I love how the arrangement flows. When the harmonies start to layer up, it gives me really nice Unreal feels, which is a really nice reference that is like super, super nerdy. Gamers from the late 90s will recognize, sort of the reference to Unreal. I love the Unreal soundtrack. It's so good. Like when you step off the ship at the start of the game and onto the open planet, it's just, that will always stick with me. But yeah, so it's nice to kind of have that reinforced. It's more kind of flowing harmony and not really obvious melodic elements. I don't really want to overcomplicate things. Buskin Bills said, I'm still trying to figure out Adam's arrangement style. It's like nothing I've seen before. Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out myself, to be honest. But yeah, it's really, that actually reminds me of something really interesting someone said to me a couple of years ago. I've released an album called Mesmerer a couple of years ago, and someone said that they would have preferred it if the tracks were more kind of in their arrangement, if they were more symmetrical, which I thought was a really interesting comment, because it's not really something I tended to think about. With Mesmer, a lot of the tracks, they kind of build and then they sort of just slowly peter out, for want of a better phrase, really. That sounds more negative than I intend. I'm super happy with that album, and I'm happy with the arrangements, but it was like, that was a really interesting point, and not something I'd thought about, the idea of arrangement, like symmetry in arrangement. And I think that's more sort of what I've been leaning into with my stuff more recently, and during the streams, is kind of a more symmetrical intro, main bit in the middle, outro kind of thing. And I think that kind of comes about as it's more of a necessity, because I'm working so exclusively with blocks. I need to have something that leads into the block that I've already created, and then it's like have that sit nicely. So you can't just launch straight into a block. You have to think more about kind of how everything leads into that. It's a very interesting way of working. It's kind of more non-linear arrangement, which is interesting. I've just realized I've got some tea left and it's totally gone cold now, but oh well. So yeah, that's actually a really interesting observation, mentioning sort of the intros and outros and how everything's arranged. But yeah, it's something that I stopped doing for a while. I tended to go for a more direct arrangement with some of my stuff, whereas now I seem to be getting back into the slower intros and slower outros. It's like a cyclical thing for me, I think. When I released my first album, I was very much more in the long intros, let everything flow more slowly frame of mind. So it's interesting to see me kind of regress back to that, really. I think maybe a lot of that has to do with the fact that a lot of the music I write in my day-to-day work is very direct. It has to get to the point quickly. That's kind of necessary with a lot of production music. You can't have like a 5-minute intro for something that needs to kind of get in, do its thing, and get out. So it's nice to kind of explore that more free-form, slower arrangement. So yeah, cold tea, not great, don't recommend it. So I'm actually really happy with that track as it's turned out, and I think I'm probably gonna leave the track there actually, and come back to it, do my usual thing of coming back to it tomorrow with a fresh pair of ears and making some changes and what have you. So I think I'm gonna leave that track there and not overcomplicate things until I absolutely hate it. So as has been the case with the past couple of streams I've done, I've made a note of all of the changes I've made after the stream version, and I'll be uploading an updated version of this project file to Dropbox after the fact, along with the audio bounces. But I've like I said, I've made a note of all the changes I'm making, and I'll be going through those in a stream probably in a couple of weeks now, actually. So Buskin Bills has said, what's the title? I think I'm going to stick with Wayfarer. I really like that as a title, and as I said, I think it's, even if my association of it as a pub is very odd and kind of esoteric and personal in that regard, I've just realized there's a dodgy curve there. I still like that sort of more personal attachment. I'm a fan of that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with Wayfarer. That's a good title. So that's the end of this session, really. I'll be back at the same time next week to do some more stuff, possibly using less Stutter Edit, possibly using more if I create my own gesture bank. That sounds like a weird innuendo gesture bang. Um, but yeah, so I'll be back same time next week. May or may not be using quite as much stutter edit. One thing I'll be fixing with this track tomorrow is I'd like to make some of those stutters a little more even in terms of levels, because they are a little overpowering at times, and maybe vary things up a little bit. But yeah, I'm happy with that. So thanks so much to everyone for joining me. If you're watching this on Twitch, I'll be sticking around after the stream for a little bit, so you can ask me some questions and we can go over some stuff. But if you're watching this on YouTube, thanks so much for joining me again, and I hope to see you. Maybe join me during one of my live streams if you can catch me live, or just watch the archives on YouTube. Happy either way. And if you like what I've done, please check out my Patreon. There might be something there you like the look of. It's a great way to support me in a very direct and meaningful way. Or not. I won't judge you. It's fine. So anyway, right, I will leave it there and stick around on Twitch. So cheers. Thanks for joining me, and see you next time. Bye-bye.